So if somebody saw my build, most of the stuff that I have is Alpine. I have 3 Alpine amps, Alpine sub, and I got this one. So this is for my friend. I'm gonna be installing, but for now I have it in my house just because I need to tidy up the box. It has some holes, fill it up. It was literally 70 quid. So what I thought to do is I'm gonna make a comparison between these two subs. So this one is Alpine Type R, 12 inch. It's not the newest one, it's the older model. And this is the newest Alpine Type X. And I have 2 different subs and I do have 2 different enclosures. So I'm lucky that both of them are sealed. So this, the smaller one, is 1 cubic foot. And the big one is 1.5 cubic foot, so a bit bigger. So what I did is I took 3 types of measurements. I took one near field, which is literally like this, mic next to the cone. That one I took further away, it's like a meter and a half away. It's like somewhere here. And the other one I took is from the driver's seat in this position. And what I did with these boxes, and then I swapped the subs in different boxes. So I have loads of measurements with the X in big box and small box, and R in small box and big box, and near field 1 meter away, and from the driver's seat. So this is a bit of different comparison than everybody else did, because everybody does compare it like outside, check the magnets, see them flex. So it's going to be no flexing in this video. It's going to be from SQ point of view, like from the actual measurements and from this frequency response. So yeah, if you want to see some subs flexing, skip it. It's not for that. This is going to be pure measurements. So let's have a look at the measurements. And this is a lot of measurements that I took. So let's start with the least interesting ones, near field measurements. Alpine Type R in a small box versus big box. So as we expect, bigger box, a bit more output at the lower end. So in this case, below probably 50 Hertz. You can have, so this is the red one is 1 cubic foot, orange one 1.5. So you can have probably 2-3 dB extra, increasing the volume by half a cubic foot. Let's take a look at the Type X. So let's take Type X, smaller box, 1 cubic foot versus 1.5, exactly the same. Something above 50 Hertz, you have more output. And let's compare Type X versus Type R. So X, this is a cross point, about 70 Hertz. So below 70 Hertz, X has more output. Above 70 Hertz, R has a bit more output. Yeah? And it's exactly the same if we have a look at the bigger boxes. Exactly the same in bigger box. X has more output below, R type has more output above 70 Hertz. Now let's see with 1 meter distance from the sub. Small versus big box. Again, bigger box, more output. This is kind of a mess because here I think some reflections come into place. So, but again, bigger box, more output. So for R, this is for X, small box, big box, a bit more output at the lower end, which is what's expected. And let's have a look at R versus X. So again, X, more output above 70, R below 70, R more output above 70. And it's a trend that's exactly the same from near field measurements. And in a big box, which is weird, it's very similar. So R is the green one, X is the red one. It's very similar at the bottom end, but the top end, R has more output. Yeah. And now the most important thing, from the driver's seat. Okay, so let's adjust this a bit and shift this. Okay, so measuring from the driver's seat, this is the bottom one is a small box, and this is the big box for the type R, which is exactly what's expected. Put it in a bigger box, you're gonna have a bit more output. X, exactly the same trend. Bigger box, more output. But that output, extra output for the X is at the lower end, so below 40 hertz, you have much more output, but the top end is almost exactly the same. Whereas for the R, it was a bigger difference here. Okay, now let's compare type R versus type X. So X, exactly the same, just crossover point is yes, exactly 60 hertz. So more output for the X in the lower end, more output for the R at the higher end. And let's have a look at the big box. So the blue one is the R in a big box, and the green one is the X in the big box. So the lower end is not a big difference, but the big difference is at the higher end. So was it worth it to get the X for me? I think now, when I went through all the data, it's a bit easier to integrate the type R into the mid bass, because you're gonna have a bit more output here on the like one above 70 hertz. You're gonna have more output. It's a bit easier. But if I had another video where I compare the positions, so I have a similar difference if I have the same sub in the same box, just in a different position. And what is interesting as well, if I compare the measurement, let's take for example RX in the big box versus this one. So the red one is outside the car from a distance of 1 meter, and the green one is in the driver's seat. So if you can see all of this different, it's exactly the same power, exactly the same driver, exactly the same box. The only difference is the green one is measured from the driver's seat with the boot closed, and this is the red one with the boot open into the outside and from 1 meter. So all of this, everything below 65 hertz, and here is what we call cabin gain or cabin boost. So this is free bass that you get. So for example, at 20 hertz, I have 10, 23 dB plus, and this is what's called cabin gain. So if you want to know where your cabin peaks, where you have the most gain, and if you want to design another sub to make use of that, what you need to do, you need to take a measurement of any kind, it doesn't matter which one, any kind of sub from outside, 1 meter outside, and in the car, and you can see where your car peaks and boosts everything. So if you want to have it very, very linear, for example me, if I would want more bass in the mid bass region, I could potentially, because now I have a peak here between 40 and 80. If I would design my box for it to have a peak around 100, somewhere here, so this area would be higher, and the rest, if it would be rolling down, the cabin gain will take care of that, and at the end I would have more flat response, because now in my car, like above 50, everything goes down, 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 and here at 70 it's a cancellation in the car. So conclusions. Cabin gain is a good thing, interesting thing to see, but the main conclusion is box size matter more than the actual sub that you're using. If you put the same sub in a bigger box, you'll have more output at the lower end. But if you're comparing same box size but different subs, it's gonna be less of a difference. So in my particular case, type R and type X, in a big box, the difference is above 70 hertz, and in a small box, there is a slight difference between 30 and 150. It's like maybe 2-3 dB, so you're not gonna notice it. But if you want more bass, make a bigger box. Simple as that. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.